My children sat across from me, their voices steady but insistent. "Dad, it's time to face reality and transfer your assets to us while you're still here. It's only fair to us, and it's the responsible thing to do." Laura's tone was sharp, rehearsed, as if she'd practiced this speech countless times. My son, Daniel, stood beside her, nodding with that forced smile he always used when he wanted something from me. They had no idea I'd already made my choice. For days, I'd been crafting my response, not with anger or tears, but with the quiet resolve of a man who finally saw his children for who they'd become. Holding my coffee mug, I listened as they delivered their polished pitch about family duty and financial wisdom. Laura gestured like I was a child, explaining why handing over my house, my savings, my independence was best for everyone. Daniel backed her up with statistics he'd found online about taxes and estates, as if that would convince me to surrender my life's work. "Think about it, Dad," Daniel said, leaning forward. "You don't need all this anymore. This house is too big for one person, and we could invest your money smarter. It'll save us legal headaches later." Their words lingered in the dining room air as I mentally calculated my timeline. 2 weeks, maybe 3, if all went according to plan. They kept talking, but my mind was on the first call I'd make once they left. The irony was almost laughable. Here were my children, both in their late 30s, telling me I lacked the mental sharpness to manage my own affairs, when I'd spent decades making the decisions that gave them everything they had. Laura's family lived in a home I'd helped buy with the first dollars I earned scrubbing floors after their mother passed. Daniel's car, his college degree, the startup I funded for years despite its failures, all of it came from my sacrifices, my so-called incompetent choices. Yet now, they deemed me too old to handle my own money, too naive for financial complexities, too emotional for rational decisions. Laura had said as much the week before, thinking I couldn't hear her phone call with a friend. "Dad's too emotional. He doesn't get that this is just paperwork. It's ours eventually. So why wait?" That conversation changed everything. It wasn't just her words, but the cold, detached way she said them, as if I were already gone. My opinion a minor hurdle to their goal. That night, sleep escaped me, not from sadness, but from a piercing clarity. For the first time, I saw the truth without the lens of fatherly love clouding my judgment. The next morning, I started making calls, first to my bank to explore my options, then to my friend Thomas, who'd faced a similar situation with his daughter a year ago. "You're 68, not 88, Thomas had told me. "You've got years to live life on your terms." His words echoed as Laura listed reasons I should be grateful to hand over everything I'd built. "And besides, Dad," she added, "we'll always take care of you. We'd never abandon you." "It's just easier if everything's settled now." Daniel nodded like a loyal sidekick. "Exactly. It's for your benefit, too. No worries. We'll handle it all. For my benefit." Those words twisted in my gut. Since when was giving up my independence, my security, my choices a favor? Since when was relying on their goodwill a blessing? I stayed quiet, nodding faintly as they pressed on with their pitch. Inside, I was mapping out my plan, confirming every step. I knew what awaited if I agreed. I'd seen it happen to others in my neighborhood. First, the small choices vanish: what to eat, when to go out, who to see. Then the bigger ones: where to live, which doctor to visit, how to spend money that's no longer yours. Eventually, even the simplest decisions: when to wake up, what to wear, when to speak disappear. You become a guest in your own life, thankful for scraps of consideration. What hurt most wasn't their plan, but their execution, a blend of condescension and emotional manipulation that made my refusal seem selfish. Think of your grandkids. Dad, Daniel had said last week. They deserve stability, too. As if their children were my burden, not theirs. As if I hadn't already given enough to secure their futures. I sat in my favorite recliner, the one I'd bought after redecorating the living room when their mother died. Laura always hated it, calling it too pricey, too flashy, too much. But I chose it because it was comfortable, because I loved its deep blue hue, because, for once, I'd bought something just for me. As they droned on about legal transfers, I gripped the chair's arms, anchoring myself against the storm brewing. "Look, Dad," Daniel said, adopting that patronizing tone I knew too well. "We get that this might be hard, but you've done your part. You raised us, worked your whole life, fulfilled your duties. Now it's time to rest. Let us handle the tough stuff." Rest. The word felt like an insult, as if being 68 meant I was a worn-out machine, ready for the scrapyard. Did he ever think of his own life that way? Did turning 39 make him feel others should make his choices? The talk dragged on for another hour. They laid out their arguments. I nodded, mentally ticking off my to-do list. Call Mr. Carter, the lawyer who handled my house papers after my wife's death. Check my bank accounts, those they knew about and the ones they didn't. Consult Thomas about his experience, avoiding his mistakes, following his successes. Above all, stay calm, act normal, show no hint of my true thoughts. I finished my coffee and set the mug down. Laura and Daniel watched me, waiting for my answer. "I need to think it over," I said, my voice steady. "It's a big decision." Daniel frowned, clearly annoyed by my hesitation. Laura sighed, as if my need to reflect proved my inability to grasp the obvious. "Don't take too long, Dad," she said, grabbing her purse. "These things are better settled quickly, without fuss." Daniel stood, kissing my cheek with a hollow gesture. "We'll call tomorrow to hear your decision," he added. From the kitchen window, I watched them leave, gesturing animatedly, likely dissecting my reaction, planning their next move. They didn't know I'd been planning mine for days, with the precision of someone who'd learned life's biggest decisions are made quietly, patiently, always 3 steps ahead. As their car pulled away, I dialed a number I'd saved earlier that week. "Mr. Carter, this is Dewey. I need an urgent meeting." My voice was stronger than it had been in months. Mr. Carter, who'd handled my affairs since my wife's passing, knew urgent meant serious. "Of course, Mr. Dewey. Can you come tomorrow at 9? His calm professionalism steadied me. "Perfect. And please prepare some specific documents. I'll explain everything then." I hung up, standing in my living room, seeing it anew. This house, bought with my own hands, decorated to my taste, kept pristine for 12 years, felt truly mine again. My morning routine had shifted over the past week. Before I woke thinking of my children's needs, their requests, their problems. Now, I woke thinking of myself, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to spend my money, my life. It was a strange, freeing feeling, like shedding tight shoes I hadn't realized were pinching. I climbed the stairs to my study and opened my laptop, the one Laura always said was too complex for me. What did she know I'd mastered it? With my own email, passwords, contacts, I checked my bank statements. A weekly ritual now, with new purpose. I wasn't tracking expenses. I was measuring my freedom. My main account held $275,000. The savings account they knew about had $6,000. But the one they didn't, opened a year ago when I sensed this coming, had $165,000 money quietly saved from renting out a small apartment in downtown Seattle I owned, which they thought barely broke even. My phone rang. It was Thomas. "How'd it go with the kids?" His voice carried the knowing tone of a friend who'd shared decades of battles. "Just as I expected. They're pushing hard to get me to sign everything over. I paced my house, pausing at each photo, each object I'd chosen over the years, as I told him about the morning. "Have you decided what to do with the house?" Dewey, Thomas asked. He knew my plans, having been my confidant from the start. He'd faced similar pressure when his daughter tried to move him to a retirement home to sell his family house. He'd compromised, moving to a smaller place but keeping his money. I'd learned from him. Yes, I've spoken to a realtor. They're appraising it on Thursday. The decision took weeks, but once made, it felt right. The house was worth about $450,000 based on discrete appraisals I'd requested. With that and my savings, I could live comfortably for years, independent of anyone. After hanging up with Thomas, I opened a spreadsheet I'd been refining for days, cost of living estimates for different cities, both in the UIS and abroad. I'd researched places to settle where my money would stretch further, where I could start fresh, away from family who saw me as a resource, not a person. Asheville, North Carolina, caught my eye. Lower costs, mild weather, a vibrant retiree community. I could rent a nice apartment for $600 a month, eat well for $350, and still have plenty to travel. To live without penny pinching, as I had for years, to leave enough for my kids. My phone buzzed with a text, a photo of my granddaughter Emma at her piano recital, sent by Laura to our family chat. "Look how talented Emma is. Lessons cost $600 a month. But she's worth it." The subtext was clear: another expense they expected me to cover. "Another reason they needed my money," I replied with a heart emoji. But inside, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. Sadness that they'd use Emma to manipulate me. Relief that I could finally see their tactics clearly, without guilt. That afternoon, I visited my barber, Tom, for my bi-weekly trim. He noticed the change in me right away. "You seem different today." Dewey, more at ease. He was right. For the first time in months, I wasn't dwelling on family demands, money I had to give, or favors I had to do. I was thinking about myself, how I wanted my hair to look, what would make me feel good. "Let's try something new," I told Tom. "Something modern, youthful." He grinned and got to work. As he cut, I shared my plans to possibly move to Asheville, the freedom I felt considering it. I didn't mention my kids, but Tom seemed to sense there was more to my story, leaving the shop. I snapped a selfie and posted it on Facebook. New look for a new chapter. Friends from my hiking group, neighbors, and church acquaintances commented, saying I looked great, happy. It was true. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy. That night, as I cooked my favorite meal, a ribeye Laura always called too extravagant for one, I reflected on the day. No calls asking for favors. No problems to solve for others. No need to justify my choices. It was my day. Lived on my terms. My phone rang. It was Daniel. "Dad, have you thought about our talk this morning?" Laura and I discussed it, and we think the sooner we settle this, the better for everyone. His voice had that thinly veiled urgency, like a salesman eager to close a deal. "Yes, son, I've been thinking," I said, "but I need more time. It's a big decision." A pause. "More time, Dad. It's just paperwork. We've already spoken to a lawyer. Everything's set." The pressure was clear, but I held firm. "Daniel, I need at least a week, and I want to consult my own lawyer." His irritation was palpable. "Your own lawyer? Why, we've got it all handled." "Because it's my money, son. I want to ensure everything's done right." Another pause. Longer this time. "Okay, Dad, but don't drag this out. Things can get messy if we wait too long." After hanging up, I pondered his last words, a subtle threat that resistance could complicate things. But what he didn't know was that I was ready to complicate things. Not for him, but for myself. Complicated, but honest. Complicated, but freeing. Before bed, I reviewed my to-do list. Meeting with Mr. Carter, confirmed. House appraisal, scheduled. Research on Asheville, ongoing. Bank consultation about international transfers, set for tomorrow. Everything was falling into place. For the first time in years, I felt I was building something for myself, not giving away what I'd built for others. The next morning, Laura called at 7, her voice dripping with that forced warmth she used when she wanted something big. "Good morning, Daddy. How are you?" I was sipping coffee on my porch, savoring the quiet, but her tone put me on guard. When she called me Daddy, trouble was coming. "I'm fine, honey. Everything okay?" I played along, knowing where this was headed. "Yes, everything's great. Dad, Daniel and I were talking last night with our spouses about yesterday, and we're excited about our plan. We've even started organizing things to make you more comfortable." The escalation had begun. It wasn't just a suggestion anymore. It was a plan in motion, involving their partners, made without my input. I stayed silent, letting her reveal more. "For example," she continued, "we thought you could move into that nice spare room at Daniel's place. It has its own bathroom. And you'd have company. No need to maintain that big house. And we'd take better care of you. Daniel's spare room, the one he used as a storage space, tucked at the back of his house, with one tiny window, never used for guests." "That sounds interesting," I said neutrally. "What about my house?" I knew she was waiting for that question. "Well, Dad, we'd sell it. It's too much for one person, and the money would be better invested." "Daniel had already spoken to a realtor," she said, "who thought we could get a good price." Without my consent, without my final answer. Daniel had already contacted a realtor. A calm settled over me, confirming my suspicions. They weren't just after my money. They were acting as if it was already theirs. My agreement a mere formality. "You've already talked to a realtor?" I asked, feigning surprise. "Yes, Dad, just to get an idea. Don't worry, we haven't signed anything." Laura said quickly. "Proactive," she called it. Proactive would have been asking me first. This was something else. "What did the realtor say the house is worth?" I asked, wanting to compare it to my own appraisal. "Between $400,000 and $450,000 depending on the market," she replied. "That's a lot of money. Dad, money that could work for us instead of sitting in a house. For us, not for me." As if my house's sale proceeds were already theirs, I let the silence stretch, knowing it unnerved her. "Besides," she added nervously, "think of the peace of mind you'd have, not worrying about anything. We'd handle taxes, investments, medical costs, everything. You'd just relax. Relax in Daniel's back room, without my space, my things, my choices, a polished cage." "It's well thought out," I said, "but I need time to think. It's a big change." Her sweetness faded. "Dad, I don't get why you need so much time. It's obviously best for everyone. Sometimes I feel you're being stubborn for no reason. Stubborn." There it was, the first jab. The guilt trip for not instantly agreeing. It was the pattern I'd seen in others my age, sweet promises. Subtle pressure. Then blame. "It's not stubbornness, Laura. It's caution. These decisions will shape the rest of my life." My voice stayed even, but I was cataloging her words. "Dad, you're 68, she said, as if it were a verdict. "It's not like you have decades to keep changing your mind." 68, to her, meant decline, a need for oversight. To me, It meant experience, wisdom, clarity. It's because I'm 68 that I need to be sure, I countered. I can't afford mistakes now. Another pause. Okay, Dad, a few more days. But we hope you won't take too long. Daniel and I have our own bills and responsibilities, and this would help us plan better. Their future, not mine, funded by my money. The call ended, but her words lingered. My children's expenses had somehow become my problem. That afternoon, Daniel arrived unannounced, a habit he'd picked up, as if checking my mental state. He found me cooking dinner, fully alert, but that didn't ease his concern. Hi, Dad. How you feeling? His tone was condescending, like speaking to a fragile child. Fine. Daniel, why do you ask? I met his gaze, showing I was in control. Just making sure you're not stressed about our talks. I know it's a lot to take in. A lot to take in. As if my 68-year-old mind couldn't handle basic finance. I'm not stressed, son. I'm being careful. He sat at the kitchen table without invitation, irking me, but I stayed silent. Dad, I get that this might feel scary, but it's normal. Trust us. We're your kids. We only want what's best. His soft tone was meant to soothe, to make my doubts seem irrational. It's not fear, Daniel. It's responsibility. I sat across from him, back straight, voice firm, showing no weakness. The conversation stretched another hour. He detailed tax benefits, inheritance ease, the peace I'd gain from resolving everything. It sounded logical, convenient for them. As he left, I watched his car disappear, feeling absolute clarity. They didn't just want my money. They'd decided I was unfit to manage my life, that my role was to be a grateful burden. That night, I got an email from Mr. Carter confirming our meeting tomorrow at 9. It was time to execute my plan, not theirs, but mine. The turning point came Thursday afternoon. Unexpectedly, I just returned from Mr. Carter's office, confident in my legal steps. The documents were being drafted, my options clear. I felt in control. Then I heard voices in the backyard. Daniel and Laura were on the phone, unaware I was home. I stood by the kitchen window, not to eavesdrop, but their businesslike tone alarmed me. It's almost done, Daniel said. Just a matter of time before Dad agrees. You know how he is. He needs to think it's his idea. They laughed, a chilling, complicit sound. The realtor says we can get at least $450,000 for the house. Maybe more if we time it right. Laura added. Daniel replied, No issues. We've told him he can stay at my place. He'll grumble at first, but get used to it. He has no other options. No other options. The words hit like ice in their minds. I was cornered. My choices already made for me. He doesn't drive much anymore. Laura continued. He barely goes out. That house is a waste. A waste my home. My sanctuary after my wife's death. My memories. My space. Deemed unnecessary because they decided I didn't deserve it. Daniel mentioned maintenance costs. How to be more efficient if I lived with him. Efficient. Like I was an object to be optimized. I slipped away from the window, heart pounding. Not with fear, but with a clean, sharp sadness. For the first time, I fully grasped that the children I'd raised, loved, prioritized, saw me as an obstacle to manage, not a person deserving respect. But with the sadness came resolve. This wasn't about whether to act, it was about when and how to do it best. They'd left a note on the table. Dad, we stopped by, but you weren't here. We'll call later. Love, Laura and Daniel. The perfect handwriting felt hollow after what I'd heard. Love that plans your future without you isn't love. That night, when Daniel called, I'd had hours to process their words and plan my response. Hi, Dad. How was your day? His cheerfulness was forced. Productive, I said truthfully. I ran errands. Saw friends. I didn't mention Mr. Carter. Good. Dad. Laura and I were thinking we could speed up the paperwork. No need to overcomplicate things. Speed up. Of course, after their backyard talk. They were eager to seal the deal. Why the hurry? Daniel, I thought we agreed on time to think. A brief pause. It's not a hurry. Dad, the sooner we do this, the sooner you can relax. Relax. Meaning surrender everything. I understand, son. But I need a few more days. My voice was calm, but I was counting the days to finalize my plans. A few more days. Dad, it's just papers. You just need to sign. The papers were ready, prepared without my full consent, confirming their view of this as a done deal. Daniel, it's my money. I have the right to take my time. A longer pause. Of course, Dad, but sometimes older folks overthink and get confused, make choices they regret. There it was. Out loud, my age made me irrational in their eyes. I'm not confused. Daniel, I'm cautious. My calm felt almost detached, like I was observing the conversation. Okay, Dad, but don't wait too long. These things have deadlines. After hanging up, I looked at the family photos on my walls, birthdays, graduations, vacations. They felt like relics of a past era, a relationship forever changed. I loved them, always would. But love didn't mean letting them strip my dignity, make my choices, reduce me to a problem to solve. Before bed, I checked my plan. House appraisal, set for tomorrow. Legal documents, ready Monday, in 10 days. If all went well, I'd be in control. They'd planned my future without me. Now, I'd plan mine without them. Monday morning, I arrived at Mr. Carter's office with a detailed list. I'd spent the weekend organizing my thoughts, finances, and resolve. He noticed the change in me immediately. Mr. Dewey, you seem different, determined. I wasn't the unsure widower from years ago. I was a man with a mission. Yes, Mr. Carter, I need to make changes, legally airtight. I explained my children's push to take my assets and my decision to protect my independence. He listened, taking notes, nodding. I understand, he said. It's common for families to pressure older adults into early transfers, often ignoring the consequences for them. His validation reassured me. What are my options? I asked. He outlined 3: a will with ironclad provisions, a trust to control my assets while alive with clear post-death instructions, or strategic transfers to accounts solely in my name, even abroad for added security. The third option intrigued me most. With Asheville in mind, North Carolina had strong retiree protections. How long to open an account in North Carolina? I asked. With the right documents, about 10 days. He replied, North Carolina has stable banking and favorable retiree laws. I left with a folder of documents to review, feeling lighter than I had in months. My plan was legal, rational, executable, not impulsive or emotional, but strategic, proactive, what my kids claim to be. At the bank, I met Sarah Miller, my accounts manager of 4 years. Mr. Dewey, it's great to help with your investment plans, she said after I shared my intent to diversify abroad. It's a smart move, especially with North Carolina's tax benefits for retirees. We reviewed my accounts, $490,000 total. The house worth $450,000 and a rental condo downtown worth $60,000. Nearly $1 million. Far more than my kids knew. Sarah suggested transferring $250,000 to start, giving me a solid base in Asheville while keeping liquidity here for property sales. The plan was sound. The transfer would take a week with all documents ready. She provided a list of requirements and set a follow-up for Thursday. That afternoon, Laura called, her voice tense. Dad, where were you today? I called, and you didn't answer. Her tone implied I owed her an itinerary. I had errands downtown, I said truthfully. What kind? Her directness startled me. Since when did my kids demand my schedule, personal matters, honey, nothing big? A pause. Then her tone shifted. Dad, you haven't been talking to lawyers, have you? We've got everything handled. You don't need to complicate things. The question showed their nerves. They'd expected quick compliance. Why do you ask? I dodged. Because Daniel heard you were seen at an office building downtown. We're worried someone's misleading you. Someone had seen me. They were tracking my moves, or at least getting reports. No one's misleading me, Laura. I'm being careful. Inside, I noted to be more discreet. Okay, Dad, but we're concerned. People take advantage of the elderly in big financial decisions. The irony stung. Don't worry, honey. I can handle myself. That night, an email from the realtor I'd quietly contacted confirmed my house's value at $470, $20 more than Daniel's estimate. Their conservative appraisal likely aimed to downplay what they wanted me to surrender. I told the realtor to proceed discreetly, preparing for a quick sale before bed. I listed my next step sign, Mr. Carter's documents, transfer funds to North Carolina, sell the house, pack my belongings, buy a ticket to Asheville. Each step was a move toward freedom, dignity, control. Wednesday morning, the North Carolina bank approved my account. Mr. Dewey, your account is active. We can receive your transfer anytime, the representative said in a warm Southern accent. That afternoon, Sarah confirmed the transfer was set for Thursday, $250, moving to my new life. At the mall, I bought new clothes, comfortable shoes, a quality suitcase items I wanted, not needed. Each purchase was a rebellion, a claim to my money. At the electronics store, I got a new tablet and smartphone, learning video calls and photo apps from a helpful clerk. I felt like a student, eager for new skills. That evening, Daniel and his wife, Jessica, arrived unannounced. Their eyes scanned my shopping bags, calculating my spending. Dad, looks like you had a shopping spree, Daniel said, his smile masking annoyance. Just got what I needed, I replied. Jessica, with her usual judgmental look, chimed in. Isn't it a bit much to spend so freely now, especially when we're trying to organize your finances? As if my money was a collective issue. It's my savings, Jessica. I can buy what I need. They exchanged a glance, strategizing silently. Of course, Dad, Daniel said. We just think you might be stressed, making impulsive choices. Impulsive, another jab at my age. I'm not stressed, Daniel. I'm preparing for changes. Their alertness spiked. What changes? Jessica asked. Personal ones. Nothing for you to worry about. My vagueness frustrated them. Daniel paced. Dad, you're not thinking of doing something drastic, like selling the house or moving, are you? His casual tone hid real concern. Why would that bother you? It's my house. Their anxiety grew. If you're selling, we could help get the best price. Daniel said, of course they wanted control over any sale. If I sell, I'll let you know. I said, I'm just weighing options. Daniel sat, unsatisfied. Dad, we're worried you don't trust us. We just want to help. Help now meant control. I trust you. I lied slightly. I just need time. The hour-long talk was exhausting. Them probing, me dodging. When they left, I was drained but resolute. Thursday morning, at the bank. Sarah had everything ready. Sure you want to proceed? She asked. Absolutely, I said. I signed. And $250 moved to North Carolina that afternoon. The bank emailed confirmation the funds were mine, untouchable by others. The realtor reported 3 interested buyers, with offers expected by Monday. Things were moving fast, perfect for outpacing my kids' interference. That night, I called Thomas. "Dewey, I'm proud of you," he said. "You're taking charge like few our age do." He asked when I'd tell them, "Next Thursday, when everything's signed and done." He laughed. They're in for a shock. Monday brought 3 house offers, the highest at $485, $00035, above my expectation. The buyer, an investor, could close in cash by Thursday. I accepted, pushing for speed. That afternoon, Laura, Daniel, and a stranger, a man in a suit with a briefcase, arrived. "Dad, we need to talk," Laura said, overly serious. "We brought someone to finalize everything. The man, Mr. Thompson, was their lawyer, hired to handle my asset transfer without my consent." "Mr. Dewey, a pleasure," he said, smiling professionally. "Your children explained, and I've prepared documents for an efficient transfer." Efficient. Again. I sat in my recliner as they spread papers on my coffee table. "I've reviewed your assets," Thompson said. "Your children have planned well, as if my wealth was their problem solved." "Which assets?" I asked. Curious, Daniel jumped in. "The house, your main accounts, the rental condo downtown. They minimized the condo, worth $60,000. "What else do you know about my finances?" I pressed. They exchanged glances. "That's it, right?" Laura said, laughing nervously. "You don't have secret accounts, do you?" Thompson explained the plan: transfer the house to their names, give them power of attorney over my accounts, and create a trust for the condo for my benefit. "And me?" I asked. "Where do I live? How do I access my money? Who decides my life?" Thompson smiled. "Your children have it covered. You'll have a cozy room at Daniel's, an allowance for expenses, an allowance for my $1 million estate." "How much?" I asked. Daniel beamed, as if offering a gift. $600 a month, plenty for clothes, haircuts, small treats. Less than 1% of my wealth annually. "And for bigger expenses, like travel or medical needs?" I asked. Thompson replied, "You'd request approval from your children. They'd assess if it's necessary. Approval for my own money." I paused, absorbing the audacity. It wasn't just a transfer. It was stripping my adulthood. "I need to review these carefully," I said. Thompson frowned. "These are standard, Mr. Dewey. I can explain anything unclear," as if I couldn't understand without his help. "I'll review with my lawyer," I added. The room tensed. "Your own lawyer," Daniel snapped. "Why we've got it handled? Because it's my money. Daniel, I deserve independent advice." Laura sighed dramatically. "Dad, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Don't you trust us?" Trust turned into a weapon. "It's not about trust, Laura, it's responsibility." Thompson packed his briefcase sharply. "Mr. Dewey, delaying could cause tax or legal issues. The longer we wait, the worse it gets." A veiled threat. "What issues?" I asked. "Taxes, family disputes, succession problems if you pass," he said, exaggerating remote risks. Daniel paced. "Dad, why all these roadblocks? It's like you don't want what's best for us. What's best for them, not me." "I want time to consider my options before irreversible choices," I said firmly. Laura stood, exasperated. "How much more time? You've had weeks." "1 more week," I said. "And this pressure isn't helping." Thompson left the documents, urging haste. After they left, I stared at the papers' legalized loss of my autonomy, cloaked as planning. Their coordinated ambush lawyer, prepared papers, unannounced visit showed this wasn't a suggestion, but a calculated move. That night, I called Mr. Carter. "I need you tomorrow morning. It's urgent." He sensed my resolve. 8 o'clock. It was time to speed up my timeline. They'd shown their hand. Now, I'd show mine. Tuesday. I brought their documents to Mr. Carter. He read them, his face a mix of concern and indignation. Mr. Dewey, these give your children total control of your finances. It's not planning, it's stripping your autonomy. Exactly what I'd thought. I detailed my plan house sale closing Thursday, funds transferred to North Carolina, assets to be protected before confronting my kids. Do you have everything for the remaining transfers? He asked. Everything except the house sale confirmation. Ready by Wednesday. He reviewed my file. We can finalize by Thursday afternoon. Your assets will be untouchable. That afternoon, packing my new suitcase, Laura called. Dad, there's talk in the neighborhood you're meeting realtors. Is it true? They were watching me. Why does it matter? I asked. Because if you're selling, we need to know. It's family assets. My house, now family assets. It's my house, Laura. My decision. Her tone hardened. Dad, you're acting strange. You won't sign our papers. You're spending wildly. Maybe selling behind our backs. What's wrong with you? What's wrong? I said calmly. Is I'm taking control of my life. Something I should have done sooner. Silence. Then voices, likely Daniel. Dad, we're coming over now. Don't, I said firmly. I'm not taking visitors. She hung up. I called Mr. Carter to confirm Thursday's documents and the realtor to ensure the sales timeline. 20 minutes later, Daniel, Laura, and Jessica stormed in. Uninvited. Dad, we need answers, Daniel said, his tone commanding. What do you need? I asked, standing tall. We need your plans, Laura said. Selling the house or moving affects us. How? I asked. We're your family, Daniel said. We have responsibilities to you. And we can't fulfill them if you're hiding things. Responsibilities I never asked for, centered on controlling my wealth. I didn't ask you to be responsible for me, I said. I can handle myself. Jessica chimed in. Dewey, respectfully, people your age often don't see their bad choices. It's normal aging, as if 68 erased my judgment. What bad choices? I asked. Seeking legal advice, keeping my assets, staying independent. Daniel sighed. Dad, look at your recent moves, wild spending, secret lawyer meetings, talk of selling without us. Don't you see the pattern? Their pattern, an irrational old man. Mine, a man reclaiming his life. The only pattern, I said, is your frustration that I'm not doing what you want. Laura stepped closer. Dad, you're selfish. After all we've done, planning to care for you. You reject our help. Selfish. After decades of sacrifice. It's not rejecting help, I said. It's rejecting control, Daniel snapped. It's the same thing. If you don't trust our help, you're rejecting us. Help equaled control to them. The hour-long argument grew heated. They called my choices regrettable mistakes. I called them my right. Finally, Laura switched tactics. Fine, Dad. If this is what you want, we can't stop you. But don't expect us to bail you out if it fails. Emotional abandonment as a final jab. I'll accept my consequences. I said. They left. And I knew I'd crossed a threshold. Tomorrow, my old life would end. Thursday, my new one would begin. I woke before dawn, not nervous but alive, knowing every choice was mine. My flight to Asheville left at 2. The house sale closed at 10. At 11, I'd finalized documents with Mr. Carter. At 9, the buyer and realtor arrived. $485,000 hit my account as I signed. The house, my refuge, had become a symbol of others' expectations. Now it was freedom in my account. At 11, Mr. Carter stamped the final papers. You have full control, Mr. Dewey. No one can force changes. If you're incapacitated, 3 independent professionals must confirm it before anyone acts for you. I left protected. My $950,000 in assets split between North Carolina and Seattle. Enough to live, travel, give on my terms. At noon, I checked my suitcase at the airport photos, heirloom jewelry, documents, clothes for my first weeks. I donated or gifted the rest. Starting over required so little. At the gate, I sent a family group message. Dear Daniel and Laura, as you read this, I'm heading to Asheville, my new home. I've sold the house and moved my assets to accounts I alone control. This is final, legally protected, not impulsive or confused, but a choice made by a 68-year-old man capable of deciding his life. I know this will shock and upset you. You had plans for my future, but what you called care felt like control. Your help a loss of dignity. I needed my autonomy back. This isn't about not loving you, I always will. But love doesn't mean sacrificing my right to choose. If you visit Asheville as guests, not overseers, you're welcome. If you want a relationship based on respect, not control, my door is open. But I'll never let anyone, no matter how loved, decide my life without my consent. I sent it as boarding was called, then powered off my phone. The 2-hour flight to Asheville was literal and symbolic, a journey to a new me, buried for years under family expectations. A man with the right to choose, spend, live as he wished. Landing. I confirmed my North Carolina funds were available. My hotel booked for 2 weeks while I hunted for an apartment. Thomas's message wished me luck. At a local barber. I got a fresh cut. Something new, I told him. For a new life. I shared my move. My freedom at 68. That's brave, he said. Most your age don't make such leaps. He was right. I'd spent too long being what others needed. Now, I was who I wanted to be. That night, in my hotel overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains, I posted a selfie on Facebook. New city, new life, new me. At 68, the adventure begins. Friends and peers commented, inspired by my courage. 3 days later, I found a perfect apartment, 2 bedrooms, a balcony with mountain views, near downtown, for $2,500 a month, furnished, with fast internet and a retiree community. It felt like home. A week later, I read my kids' messages, shock, anger, threats, pleas, finally reluctant acceptance. Laura's last message, Dad, we don't get why you went so far, but we hope you're happy. We're here when you're ready. A month later, on a video call, they saw my joy. You look younger, Dad, Daniel said. I felt it. Are you okay alone? Laura asked. Less controlling now. I'm not alone, I said. I have friends, activities, experiences, and peace from making my own choices. 6 months later, they visited as guests, seeing my vibrant life. Laura hugged me, whispering, I get why you left. Dad, I'm glad you did. 2 years on, from my Asheville balcony, I know this was my best decision. Not because I don't love my kids, but because loving them doesn't mean sacrificing myself. I learned to care for me. 8 months since that choice. I wake with quiet happiness, not the empty silence of my old house, but one filled with possibility. My routine includes coffee on the balcony, listening to mountain birds. Yesterday, Emma, now 12, called. Grandpa, I wrote a school essay about you, how you started over at 68. My teacher says you prove it's never too late. Tears came, not of pain but pride. Her view courage, not selfishness, showed my choice wasn't just for me, but a beacon for others. Last week, I met Ellen, a 64-year-old from Chicago with a story like mine. Her kids saw her widowhood as a chance to simplify her life, move in with them, lose her finances. Your story gave me strength, she said over coffee downtown, with Ellen, Susan 71 from Toronto, and Maria 67 from Texas. We formed the Independence, meeting weekly to walk, dine, explore. We chose this life. My finances thrive. Asheville's low costs mean my wealth grows. I dine out, travel, send Emma gifts. I'm taking photography classes at the local college, treated as a peer by students and professors. Daniel called recently, offering help without strings. I'm good, son, I said. Really good. Laura's latest message admitted. Maybe we were too controlling, Dad. A step toward honesty. I've rediscovered my adventurous side hiking in the Smokies, joining a pottery class, mastering Instagram. Each experience proves 69 is just a number. My wisdom from raising kids, losing a spouse, working decades, and overcoming family pressure fuels my confidence. Today, I'll video call Thomas, who's considering his own move. I'll share my Smoky Mountain photos, my new friend from yoga, my balcony sunset. I'll tell him it's never too late to redefine success, happiness, family. That love doesn't demand sacrificing dignity. That independence at 69 isn't selfishness, it's survival. Tomorrow's my 70th birthday. Ellen and Maria are joining me at my favorite restaurant for wine and trip planning. It'll be small, but mine, and that's exactly what I want. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.